Hey everyone! Looks like we have everyone coming in right now, and it is right on time to get started. So I'm going to go ahead and dive in here and just welcome you already to this webinar. We're so excited to have you here today, and we're really excited for our amazing presenter, Sandy Saburn from GTN as well. If you have joined us on previous webinars, she's probably a familiar face to you, and we love having her on here, and so does everybody else. So we just had to bring her back again. So we're so excited, and I'll introduce her in just a minute as well, but there are a couple things that I want to go through. So first, I'll introduce myself. If this is your first time joining us, my name is Stephanie Grice, and I'm the Senior Client Champion and Education Coordinator here at Travefy. And really, I just want to thank you again for being here today with us. We know it's just strange times all around, so just really thankful that you're joining us. And what we've been trying to do is put together a lot of these helpful webinars and working with amazing people like Sandy to just help give people some clarity and some guidance on what should you be doing right now and what should you be preparing for when the travel industry starts to get back to normal. So we really want to thank you again for joining us here during this webinar, and we hope it's very helpful for what is going on right now. But the other thing that I want to mention is if this is your first time joining us for a Travefy Academy webinar, I do just want to briefly share what it is we're doing and what you can expect from Travefy Academy. So really what Travefy is we exist to provide powerful educational experiences to just help fulfill the mission of Travefy to help power the success of travel professionals. So Travefy Academy does not focus on Travefy as a product. So we're not going to go over how you use Travefy as a software here today. Instead, these Travefy Academy webinars are just a free resource for all travel advisors and agents to learn and to grow your business. And the cool thing is because Travefy, here we get to work with so many amazing advisors and organizations every day. We partnered with these experts across the travel industry to provide free educational webinars. But these webinars are not commercial in nature to promote these organizations, nor does Travefy ever accept compensation for partnerships either. So that's a little bit about Travefy Academy. A couple things that I do want to mention before I introduce Sandy here today is that this webinar is being recorded. So no worries if you have to hop off, if you have a friend or colleague who wasn't able to join, no worries. It's being recorded, and as long as you registered for this webinar here today, you will receive a recording of it afterwards. If you don't get it or you have a friend who didn't sign up, just reach out to us, or you can go to academy.travefy.com and they'll all be on there as well. The other thing I want to mention is that we will have time at the end to ask some questions. So feel free and ask those questions as you think of them. There is a question box in your GoToWebinar panel that you can ask those questions. So feel free to put those in there, and then we'll have time at the end to answer those. So now, with all that being said, I want to introduce our speaker and presenter today, Sandy Saburn. So to tell you a little bit more about Sandy and why we love having her on here, she's just been in the industry, knows her stuff. So here's exactly about Sandy. So Sandy came to the travel industry after 10 years as a business and career coach. So after encouraging hundreds of clients to follow their dreams, Sandy decided to pursue her own dream of working in the travel industry. So after completing travel school, Sandy began working as an agent, but then quickly moved into leadership. So she's held management positions in training, marketing, and sales, and has worked with leisure and corporate travel, meetings and incentives, and home-based agents. So Sandy has a master's degree in communication from Queen's University of Charlotte and a bachelor's degree in business from UNC Wilmington, as well as a certified travel industry executive designation from the Travel Institute as well. So after 17 years of working in travel, Sandy is even more convinced that this is the best industry in the world, and there continues to be tremendous potential for agency owners and agents. And she really loves introducing people to the industry and helping those already working in travel to be more successful by leveraging their skills and passions. So perfect time for you to join us here today, Sandy. So thank you so much again for joining us.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me again, Stephanie. It's always fun.
Yes, absolutely. And one thing that I'm going to do here for everyone is I'm going to go ahead and turn my webcam off just so that you can see Sandy's presentation. And with that, Sandy, I will let you go ahead and take it away.
Sounds good. I will get started. And thank you all very much for being here. I'm very excited to have you here. I know that this has been a very, very strange time, and it's, goes without saying that things are not the same world as it was the last time I was here with Stephanie doing a webinar for Travefy Academy. But that's exactly what we're going to talk about today, is what this world is about and how you can make the most of it. And that's why we called this Timely Tips for Travel Agents. Navigating turbulent times, is we really want to help you navigate these turbulent times, because we are still very, at Gifted Travel Network, and myself personally, I'm still very bullish about the travel industry. We really believe that the travel industry is going to come back and come back strong. Is it going to be a little different? Yep, it sure is. Are there going to be people who decide, you know what, this is my sign that it's time to leave? Of course. But for those people who are still passionate about the industry, and even, I was just telling Stephanie, we have some folks who've recently joined us that are going through our new to the industry training program, because they are passionate about the travel industry too, and they know things are going to normalize again and come back. So we want to give you some tips to help you make the most of this time. Now, a couple of my housekeeping tips. Stephanie already mentioned this has been recorded, and we will have time for questions, but you don't have to take a ton of notes, because at the end, I'll give you a website you can go to, and you can just download the entire guide that we created. It's called Travel Agent's Guide to Navigating Turbulent Times. And I'll give you the link where you can just download that for free. And then you won't have to take 1,000 notes if you're like me and you are a note taker. So there's that. So I think this comment is definitely true right now, that we are all becoming much more skillful sailors. Smooth seas don't produce skillful sailors, and there's so much truth to that, right? If you want to learn how to sail, you need a little turbulence, you need some odd things, and it helps you adapt. And maybe this has been a little much, but I think that we can look into this new situation that we're all going through and find some ways that there are blessings in all of this. And that's what I want to focus on today, is some things to give you that you can use to be able to make this a more beneficial time for you, so that you are a more skillful sailor when you finish this. And there's really several different areas that I'm going to go through. And if you have questions about any of these, or want me to talk in depth about anything, just make a note or enter it in the comment box, and we will definitely get those at the end. Stephanie's monitoring that, and I'm definitely always happy to answer questions for people. So first, let's talk about client care. First of all, communication is truly key right now to client care. And I'm not just talking about the communication with the clients who are canceling and rebooking and wondering what's going to happen to their trip. I mean, just in general, it's, even if you have clients that aren't traveling right now, it's super important for you to still be in communication with them, so that they know that you're still out there. Because when this is over, you want them to book with you, and the assumption is going to be that if you're not communicating with them, that you're not doing this anymore. I cannot tell you how many people have reached out to me, distant cousins and aunts and things like that, and they're like, "Are you doing okay? Being unemployed?" And I'm like, "I'm not unemployed unless you know something I don't." But they just assume that everybody in the travel industry has lost their job and everybody is going to go do something else. Of course, that's not true for everybody, but it is important for you to continue to reach out to clients and proactively reach out to all the clients. And but at this point, I would certainly hope you have reached out to every one of your clients as a booking between now and the end of the year, so that you can say to those that are further out, "I'm monitoring this, I'm on top of it. As soon as we know anything, I'll be in touch. We don't need to do anything right now," if that's the case. And be proactive with them. For those that are closer in, that will require a different conversation, but don't wait on them to reach out to you. Always be the one to reach out to them, because that's part of service. And of course, focus on rescheduling them and not canceling whenever possible. The reason that that's so important is obviously it helps your bottom line, but it also helps give them something to continue to focus on. And a lot of people really love having a trip out there that's going to be coming up to give them something to get through this. I know that I am taking my son and daughter-in-law and grandsons to, supposed to be taking them to Jamaica to an all-inclusive resort in June. And my daughter-in-law says with homeschooling two little kids that that trip is what's keeping her going. So I don't know if we're actually going to get to go, but I haven't told her that yet. So we'll see. And if you have unhappy clients, just listen to them. In many cases, they're frustrated. And right now, a lot of people have frustration levels that they didn't have a few months ago. They're at home all the time. They're with their family all the time. They may be homeschooling children, which God bless every one of you who are having to do that, because I would just be in trouble. And maybe they have money troubles. There's just so many things going on. So listen to them. Let them, sometimes you just need to let them vent. And always remember that their anger, if they're angry, is not directed at you. It's directed at the situation. So don't take it personally. And I would just say give people more latitude now than you normally would. Of course, you should never let anybody abuse you or be disrespectful, but right now is definitely a time for a little bit of latitude. But look after yourself too. You need to look after your body. I mean, there's lots of memes out there in social media right now about, make sure you try on your jeans once a week to make sure that they still fit, or, that you can't time to change from your daytime pajama pants into your nighttime pajama pants, that kind of thing. But make sure that you're taking care of yourself. You take a walk, eat right, look after your body. Don't use this time to overindulge, and that's true with everything: food, alcohol, everything. But definitely take time to have fun and stay virtually connected, and try to stay virtually connected with a community that uplifts you. Right now, in a lot of the travel agents groups that I see, particularly on Facebook, there's both a lot of positivity going on. I know that's the case in our groups. Of course, people are going to have problems and need help and vent and be frustrated and that kind of thing. But you really want to try to find the positive kernels in there so that you are continuing to feel uplifted. Working in travel has always been a bit of a challenge because you're working at home and you're isolated professionally. You may have lots of friends and family around, but nobody who gets what it is that you do. So it's always important to have that community. It's even more so now, and to actually stay connected with them. And don't should on yourself. I used to say, and I will never say this again, oh, if I just had time at home for 2 weeks, because we just moved, I could get the pictures on the wall. I could get everything organized. The pictures are not on the wall and everything is not organized. Just be honest with you, it just hasn't happened. I mean, of course, I've been working, but I mean, I'm at home all the time. I have no excuse. But I should on myself. And you've got to give yourself a break. There will be times when you're just like, you know what? I just can't handle this anymore. I'm just going to go sit outside and watch the birds, or I'm going to take a walk, or take a nap, or whatever. Give yourself a break and just look after yourself. We all need to be kinder to ourselves. Now, let's talk about money, because this is super important too. So when it comes to money matters, it's super important when you start cutting costs, which some of you have had to do this already. You may have to do another round of this soon. First of all, make sure that you are distinguishing between your expenses and your investments. Just because you pay money to something does not make it an expense. So I would strongly encourage you to think twice before cutting something out. Marketing, and I'm going to talk more about marketing, is not something that you should cut out. I actually heard somebody say the other day they were going to turn off their website so they didn't have to pay the hosting every month. That's craziness. That's like turning off your telephone or disconnecting your email. You just don't do that. those are investments that keep your business going. That's not just a regular expense. The same thing if you have maybe even an assistant or a coach or other things that you may say, nope, got to cut out that. If it's something that's going to help you be better when all this is over, or help your business be more successful when all this is over, that's an investment, not an expense. And that's not where you should cut your when you're looking at those dollars and cents. And I know sometimes that's a really hard decision to make. I've been there, and I know it's challenging, but you want to make decisions from a long-term point of view and from a informed point of view, not a reactionary point of view. Now, likewise, any money coming in, which would right now, this is almost May, so the commissions that I know we're processing right now are for those people who traveled, in March or April, or some of it, there's even a lag, and before that. So make sure you're monitoring your receivables closely, and hopefully those are all being paid on time. If you have any vendor who's late paying you, as soon as they are late, reach out to your agency or your host agency or whoever manages that for you and make them aware of it, because unfortunately, we are going to see companies fail during this time. We are going to see companies who are going to go out of business, and the inability to pay commissions or money that they owe in a timely manner is a real red flag. It's a canary in the coal mine. That's the first thing that we always see. So we are staying right on top of all of those receivables and making sure that if anything is even a few days late, we're reaching out, because we want them to know we're on top of this. Likewise, if you've got clients that are booking travel maybe towards the end of the year, maybe the festive season, don't make any of those payments early. Don't pay anything until it absolutely has to be paid. And the reason for that is and don't cancel too early either, because this is such a fluid situation. You just don't know what's going to happen next week. You don't know what's going to happen next month. And it may be that you're going to have some better options. It may be that they extend the final payment date, and that would be helpful for your clients. So you can always call and ask. Some vendors are extending final payment, some are not. Never hurts to ask. And just be aware of that. We had somebody who canceled a cruise booking and right before final payment, and the clients really were serious about this trip. They canceled final payment, they got their money back. But in some cases, it might be better to go ahead and make that final payment and get 125% future cruise credit instead of just canceling and getting the money back. Depends on the client, depends on the situation. That's why you're the service expert, and that's why you're going to guide them through that. But just be aware of that there's no benefit right now to making any payments early. And definitely check into any and all relief options that might be available to you. I know that has been a whole thing unto itself. One of the things that we did at Gifted Travel Network when all this happened was we started having a weekly Zoom call to talk about, what's going on, and that's been a hot topic. And so our CEO, who's brilliant at these kinds of things, has been walking everybody through, this is what you need to do, this is how to do it, this is when to do it. And because it's definitely been a challenge for a lot of people, but don't hesitate to do that. In many states, even though if you're an independent contractor, you can still file for unemployment, which is an unusual situation. You can't usually apply for unemployment. Don't hesitate to do that. Do whatever you can do to keep things going, because there is an end to this, and we don't know exactly what that's going to be, when that's going to be, but you want to just keep things going. So those money matters are super important to make sure that you are considering that. But there are some things that you can do right now that really can help you be far more successful when you get back to business and when business resumes as whatever the new normal is. And I strongly recommend that you use this time very wisely. This is not the time to take every single vendor training known to man and come up with a stack of certificates like this. If it's not a vendor that you're not wanting to sell or don't currently sell, don't waste your time on that. There's lots of other things that you could be doing during this time that will help you, and I'm going to talk specifically about some of those. Number one is keep your communication going during this time. And if you don't have a communication plan to communicate with your clients on a regular basis, now's the time to start it. If you have heard me speak before or heard anybody at Gifted Travel Network speak before, you will know that we are big fans of what we call the e-zine, or the email newsletter, the email magazine. It's a weekly email that goes out to your clients that educates them. It's not a sales piece, it's just a communication piece. And there's lots of our advisors who do this who get tremendous amount of benefit for it. Doesn't have to be super long, doesn't have to be super complicated, but what it does is it builds a relationship with your clients, because we don't think that marketing in the travel industry is completely linear. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of people who think that when you market, you put an ad out, you do something to market, that you should immediately get a booking for that, or not immediately, but you should get a booking for that, at least one. And if you didn't, then that's not working. That's not a good marketing thing. If it's not making the phone ring, it's not a good marketing tool. And that's really not true in the travel industry, because if you're a travel advisor or consultant or guide or something other than just a booking agent, then you need to build know, like, and trust. Your clients need to know you, like you, and trust you. And so now is a great time to keep that communication going so that they know, A, you're still out there, B, they love hearing what's going on from an expert's point of view, and C, it reminds them that there are options out there, and when you're ready to book, I'm here. We've seen our agents who are doing this are seeing open rates that are much higher than usual. They usually get, good open rates in the 40% range. But right now we have some that are getting 60, 70% open rates for emails, which is just unheard of in the industry. And lots of emails back from people saying, thank you so much for this. I wondered what was going on, and it's great to hear about this. So now's the time to get really clear, if you're not clear already, about who your ideal client is, and put together a communication plan, some sort of weekly touch point that you can reach them. Social media is not a substitute for this. Email continues to be, by all measurements, the number one way people want to hear from you. It's the number one way that they want you to reach out to them. So if you don't have a communication plan now, go get one and get it going. All right. Now, the other thing that's a great thing to do right now is to become a system ninja. How many of you, most of you I would imagine, have a Travefy subscription, either on your own or through your agency? How many of you use it to its fullest? Now is an amazing time to really get comfortable with that. And another thing that's really good to get comfortable with are any other systems that you use. What I encourage people to do is think back to wave season. What were your pain points? What were the things that you said, oh, if I just had more time, I need to get this system in place or that system in place, or I need a better way to send this out, or a better way to do this, or a better way to do that. Now is the gift of time to do all of those things. So whether that is that you need a better way to collect your fees, your professional fees that clients pay, or maybe your website needs improving, or maybe you don't have a great way to send out a travel insurance waiver. So when clients decline travel insurance, that they don't that they need to sign a waiver. I mean, nobody wants to get a piece of paper and have to sign it and copy it and scan it or whatever and fax it. Somebody asked me to fax something a couple of weeks ago, and I said, well, let me go find an antique store and see if I can find a fax machine, and I'll get that right over to you, because it was the only way they would accept this piece of paper was via fax. There's so many great systems that you probably already are paying for that you're just not using to their fullest. And that includes your database, your CRM system. Now is a great time to go in and clean up that database, making sure that you have accurate information for all of your clients. Do you have their full legal name? Do you have their date of birth? Do you have their passport number? Do you have all of their correct contact information? Maybe they even moved when since they last saw you. Most people don't think to call their travel advisor and say, by the way, I moved, here's my new address. So it's also a great time to just go through and reach out to people and get that updated information. And one of the things that I like to tell people to do is to pull up your list in whatever system it is you use. Like we use Client Base, as a lot of agencies do. Sort it alphabetically. Today, do the A's and the B's, and that's it. Tomorrow, do the C's and the D's. Or if you have a lot of C's, just do the C's today, and tomorrow do the D's, the E's, the F's, whatever. Even if you do 2 letters a day in 13 days of work, you will have your database updated. And that way it's not such an onerous task to have to sit down and like go through everything. It also helps you keep up with where you are. And just check all those things. And it may be that there are ways that you should be using your system according to your agency, your host agency, your consortia, whoever you're affiliated with, that maybe you're not using. Maybe they're like, oh, you should really do this or you should really do that. Now's a great time to do that. So become a system ninja during this time. And again, really think back to January, February, and what was a pain point? What were you tolerating during that time? Like, what caused you a pause? What did you think, I wish I had somebody to do this for me, or I wish I had a better way to do this? Now is the perfect time to get that figured out so that when you get started again, you have everything ready to go. It's kind of like going back to school, and you clean out your book bag. I personally love that going back to school time. I love the idea. I love paper and pencils and office supplies. And if you saw my office, you would know I probably have, 8,432 Post-it notepads or something. But it's an exciting time to go through and get everything ready for that new start. And that's what we're going to have for this new wave season that really is coming. This second wave season is going to be here. And the way that you can take advantage of it, get your systems in place, keep marketing, keep using those channels that you've been using, your social channels, use those to inspire. And let me just take a quick pause and address something about that. It is very tempting in a situation like today, a time like today, to spend a lot of time complaining about the situation we're in. There's a post that's going around on social media, and this is not word for word, but something to the effect of, oh, you think my life as a travel agent is glamorous? Well, I have no money because all my bookings canceled. It'll be months before I have any income again. And it just goes on and on and on to list all the problems that travel advisors are having right now. But don't do that. Let's focus on forward and focus on being positive. Don't put that negativity out there. Absolutely, if you've got a great friend who's also a travel advisor, get on the phone and have a whining session. We used to call it a BMW session, a bitch moan whine. Just get on the phone and just get it all out. You can visit Pity Land, just don't make camp there. But just think about the social channels as a place to inspire people. Now, to walk a fine line with that, because I think people are getting a little overwhelmed is not the right word, and tired is not the right word, but maybe they're not as thrilled about seeing all these destinations as they were initially. So just be careful about how you do that. Only you know your clients. And when you're going through as I mentioned just a minute ago, and you're talking to people and you're actually, pick up the telephone and call them and find out, has your address changed? I'm just updating my records, just want to make sure everything's okay. I guarantee you two things are going to happen. One, when you have conversations with people, they will be appreciative that you called, and some conversations are going to result in booking inquiries. I guarantee you that some of the people that you talk to will say, I've been thinking about you because I really, I know we can't go anywhere right now, but maybe next summer, it's a big birthday, it's a graduation, it's a this, it's that. I really want to take the family, or my husband and I, or my wife and I want to go X, and would love to look into that. We're seeing at our agency, we're seeing a lot of bookings for 2021 and 2022. So it's not too early to start focusing on them. Anything you can do throughout this process to remind people of how you add value is a benefit. The travel advisors who are in demand are not the ones who are just booking. They're the ones who are providing the service and providing the expertise and providing information and just giving the client so much more, surprising and delighting them in ways they never thought a travel advisor would do. And that's another thing you might want to think about right now is your whole client care process. What are you doing to surprise and delight clients? Write it out, map it out. What does that actually look like? Where are there some areas where you could maybe improve in that process? So I would also tell you, while you're focusing on how you add value, to make sure that you are taking a look at your service fees and making sure that that value is reflected in the service fee that you charge, professional fee, consulting fee, whatever it is you charge. And get really clear on and if you're not charging fees, then I strongly encourage you to consider that too. And to look at what it is you're adding value for and how you can be charging for that. And then now's also a great time to leverage any marketing opportunities you have, either through your host or consortia. A lot of times those are programs that you just haven't had quite enough time to really jump into and figure out and get enrolled in or take advantage of, or maybe you dabbled in it a little, stuck your toe in, but you really didn't go whole hog with it. It's a great thing to do, and it absolutely works. At Gifted Travel Network, we're affiliated with Virtuoso, and the Virtuoso numbers for clients who get no marketing versus the ones who get the full amount of marketing, the difference is 4 times. When you look at the annual spend of the client who gets no marketing from Virtuoso, which is of course customized to the agent, and the one who gets everything, 4 times more they spend, and 4 times more spend means more in your pocket. And as I said earlier, definitely don't cut back on marketing. Now's not the time to do that. Make sure that you have a great support system, not only to help you get through this, but to get through everything else on a daily basis. I've said this 100 times, and I'll say it 1,000 more. Not today, but I will say it one more time today. Working in the travel industry completely on your own without a great host agency or consortium or some other structured support system is asking to be less successful. It is so hard to do everything you have to do as a travel advisor and do it on your own. So make sure you've got a great support system and lean on them. Let them help you. I know we've instituted weekly Zoom calls so everybody can see one another and talk to one another and just ask questions of our leadership team, but also of just connect with one another. There's so many great options, and yes, it means you have to take a shower and get dressed, at least from the waist up. Don't be like that poor reporter who's going around social media right now who look great from the waist up. And I don't know if he just had on boxer shorts or what, but he forgot he didn't have on any pants. He didn't think anybody could see him and they could see his legs. So yeah, if you're going to do video, you probably got to get a little dressed up, and that's probably not a bad thing for all of us to do once in a while. But it helps you remember that you're not in this alone, because you're not. Hopefully, you're not. And if you need to make a change, now is a great time to change. If your support system is not supporting you, maybe you've gotten in with either a formal or informal group of advisors who are sort of bringing you down. They're not happy with what they're doing. Maybe now's a good time to find another community to work with. Or maybe you don't have a community, and now's a good time to find people who are either in your specialty or in your geographic area, or whatever the case might be. But now is a great time to make those changes. The bottom line is there's a lot going on right now, and there's a lot to navigate it. This was a whole lot to navigate before that whole Paycheck Protection Program and the economic the EIDL loans, all that came out, and the unemployment claims and all that. This industry was already a lot to navigate. Add that to it, and you have even more things to need support from. And it's always great to hear what other people are doing. So make sure that you have that system, and then actually lean on them. Reach out, ask for help, ask for guidance. And even if it's not a problem, even if you're in a great community and you reach out and say, you know what, I just recently heard this amazing woman speak, and she said we should become system ninjas right now. And I know that I'm not using Travefy to the best of my ability, so you go take a Travefy class. Or maybe you reach out to the community and say, does anybody use this system, or does anybody know much about this? I'd really love to get better at it. And share resources with one another, share ideas, and learn from one another. A rising tide lifts all boats. And if we are all more successful, and if we all support one another as we're going through this, we are going to be so much better off than we would have been if we all just sort of stayed in our own little pockets and didn't help one another. Which is why we created this Travel Agent's Guide to Navigating Turbulent Times. And you can download it. Just go to thetravelagentsguide.com. You can download it and get the document right there. And it's obviously more than what I went over today, but don't forget the, because it doesn't work without the. So it's thetravelagentsguide.com, and you can download your copy of the guide right there. And I'll leave that up on the screen. But Stephanie, if we have any questions, I am very happy to answer those.
Yes, absolutely, we do. And I love that. That was so refreshing. So thank you for sharing all that, because I think it's really important. We talk a lot about what you should do in your business, but it's also really important just to take care of yourself. And so, yeah, so that just all encompasses, and have that community, and know you're not alone. And so, yeah, that's awesome. And I do have to mention the should on yourself. I literally just heard this for the first time on a podcast, and I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that word being kind of negative, and you don't want to shit on yourself. So
that's exactly right.
So that was perfect that you brought that up. One question that we have is from Christy, and she said, do you set up a weekly email to go out to current clients only, or should you send out to people who are you're trying to get as clients, or does that seem too forward or aggressive?
So great question, Christy. And one of the things that I'm always surprised at is how concerned travel agents are about being too forward or too aggressive. Of course, you want to respect people's time, but every email that you send out it should have, because by law you have to have this, and it should have an unsubscribe link. And if they don't want to get it anymore, they'll just unsubscribe. We recommend sending it to everybody. And so you send it to anybody who's on your list, whether you're a current client or a prospective client. Because remember, one of the goals of that email communication on a regular basis, and you have to do it regularly, and weekly is not too often. There's a whole industry of research around this. And Adobe is the company who does all this research on an annual basis. And weekly is not too much. And they still say that email is by far and away the way people want to hear from you. So send it to anybody on your list, your current clients, your prospective clients. When you go to an event and you get those little pieces of paper, or maybe you're very tech savvy and you have an iPad and they put in their information, whatever the case, send it to those people, send it to everybody. And then if they don't want it, they can just unsubscribe. Do not get caught up in monitoring your unsubscribes, and don't let it hurt your feelings when people unsubscribe. It's not about you, that's about them. And if they don't want to get it, that's okay. So I would send it to everybody.
Sorry, I forgot I was muted there. A question too is, what are some types? Can you give some examples of what people can include in newsletters?
Sure. So I always, this is where one of the things that I think differentiates super successful travel advisors and those who struggle are that super successful advisors are super clear. There's a lot of supers there on who their ideal client is, what that person looks like, to the point of having an avatar, having a picture of that person. This is what he looks like. This is what she looks like. This is where they shop. This is the kind of travel they do. This is the kind of clothes they wear, the kind of car they drive. I mean, you can get really deep into this whole avatar thing, but knowing your ideal client really helps with this. But in a general sense, you want it to be informational. And I think a great place to start is to sit down and write a list of the top 10 questions that that you're asked as a travel advisor. So let's say that you are a luxury cruise specialist, and so people, maybe they want to know, how are the luxury lines different, or what are the hot new cruise port destinations, or what are some important things first-time cruisers might need to know, or whatever it is that your audience needs to know about, that are the kinds of questions they typically ask you. That's a great place to start. And you could say, over the next 10 weeks, I'm going to be doing a list of my top 10, or maybe you could do 2 a week, just up to you. And then just, there's 10 weeks of content right there on your top 10 list. So that's a great place to start. But some of our advisors focus on different destinations. Some of them focus on telling stories about their own travel and posting pictures. People love telling stories. So anytime, or hearing stories, so anytime you can incorporate storytelling in it is always a benefit.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great place to start. That's a really good idea. So this question's a little similar, but a little more on the social media side. Is Elizabeth asked, do you have any examples on how you're inspiring clients through your marketing and social media channels?
So, yeah, well, we don't market to the public at Gifts to Travel Network. So we're not to consumers. We don't have in-house agents, so we don't market ourselves. But a lot of our advisors are doing this. There's a couple of them that are very much into culinary, and so they have reached out to BDMs with these different companies, and they're doing cooking shows. So they're using Zoom, I think, and so the BDM is at their house in their kitchen, and the travel advisor is at their house in their kitchen, and they're cooking, and they're talking about food. And like, we recently did one for one of our advisors, one of our preferred partners, Hills of Africa, which of course does travel to Africa. She showed how to cook a classic African dish, and she did all that from her home. And so those are the kinds of things that inspire travelers. We have another one who's doing a weekly video series where he's compiled a lot of the video he's taken over the years, and it's, where am I this week? And through the video, he gives little different clues. And then at the end, he is sharing where the destination is. Again, it's not trying to sell something. It's not pushing the latest deal. It's really setting you up as a subject matter expert and letting people know what you know about.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man, cooking too. This has been such a popular thing, and everyone's cooking more too because we're just at home more, and so it's a
Hmm.
perfect thing. And one thing that I want to throw in there too is a couple weeks, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, feels like it was maybe 6 months ago at the same time. Maybe it was
Oh
feels like it was a
no.
week ago. It's all mashing together. But we had a webinar on social media and did with different tips and tricks of just things
Hmm.
that you can do. And if you go to academy.travefy.com, there's 10 different examples, and that is one of them is cooking. That was actually, I think, the first one, the most up there. That's the easiest one to just go for. So yeah, that's awesome, and thank you. Those are great ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great. And so another question here from Carolyn. She said, we have an 8 PPP loan, but no way we can survive with no revenue for 3 months. Right now, all of our summer bookings have canceled as well. So what suggestions do you have for agencies that are facing the same problem?
And it's a tough situation. And one of the things that I hope, and we could do a whole webinar about this, is diversification of income. And one of the things that is a challenge right now is if you're a travel advisor whose sole source of income is commissions, you should never put all of your eggs in one basket, no matter how pretty the basket is. And so if you're solely surviving on commissions, and the commissions have gone away because nobody's traveling right now, that makes for a long period of time when you're going to be without income. Um, there are a couple of things that you could do, and what I would start with doing is thinking about what are you uniquely good at. Maybe you are a system ninja, and maybe you could reach out to other people. Think about the kind of questions people ask you, other travel advisors. Maybe you could say, listen, I am an expert at XYZ system, and I know everything there is to know about it pretty much. And if you need help getting it set up or mastering it or whatever, then maybe you could do some informal consulting for a while and have people pay you to do that. Definitely, when things get going again, I hope everybody will really consider professional fees, because you collect those at the time you first work with the client. So that's going to help your income stream until that commission comes in, especially if you're talking about a 2022 booking. But I would look at, what is it that I'm good at? What is it that I could do? How can I help other people? And maybe in the short run, there's some ways that you could do some consulting or help other people. Don't assume that just because this is a tough time for you financially, that it's a tough time for everybody financially, because it might be that there's a lot of people doing this who don't really care about the money they get from it because they have a spouse who's making a lot of money, or they made a lot of money in a previous job. So don't think, oh, well, nobody's going to pay me right now because nobody's making any money. Don't put that limitation on yourself. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And we just saw an article earlier today that I can't remember what it was with, but our CEO shared it of that a lot of Americans are actually starting to get really excited about planning trips right now. Like it's
Yes.
starting to, which yes, everyone's like, get me out of the house and take me somewhere. And so
Right.
that's also happening. You know, people are getting really excited to start planning those trips.
Which is why you wouldn't want to take on something that's going to completely distract you from your business, because you still need to be reaching out to those clients on a regular basis and building that channel. Because here's a word of warning: if you wait on clients to contact you and you don't reach out to them, they are probably going to think you're out of business and they won't contact you at all. And then you'll run into them in the grocery store or see them on social media and they booked some trip. And you're like, why didn't they call me? Well, maybe they just didn't even know you were around anymore. So definitely be reaching out now and keeping in touch with those clients.
Yeah, definitely. And another question here. So, kind of going back to what you were talking about, finding your ideal client. So,
Mm-hmm.
Cecilia asks, is it okay to have two types of ideal clients? So, she wants to specialize in faith-based tours and family vacations. So, what would you say
Mm-hmm.
to if you have two different clients?
And a lot of people do that, and they sometimes it's sort of a subspecialty of the first one. Sometimes it's kind of two different areas. The challenge, of course, anytime you have two different areas, is that you are going to find it a challenge to. Are you going to find it a challenge to do both? Are they completely different demographics? Are they completely different marketing systems? Is one going to become a distraction for the other? It works really well for some people and it doesn't work well at all for others. And so I think it's a personal decision. But if I know people that focus on faith-based travel as a portion of what they do, but it's not the whole thing that they do. So it's perfectly fine to have both. But if you start seeing, I don't feel like I'm doing a really good job of either one, then maybe it's time to pick one or the other.
Awesome. And now is the time to do that too. Like you said, if the change needs to happen, now is that time to think that through and make those changes.
Absolutely. It's the perfect time to think about that.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And I know that we're coming close to an hour. So I want to just end with some closing thoughts, Sandy, if you have any thoughts to leave everybody with, because I know there's just so many emotions and feelings going on right now. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on just what people can take with them.
Sure. Well, first of all, make sure that you go to this website and download this guide, because there's, it's multiple pages about some tips and tricks and some things that we share with our advisors on how to get through this. And a lot of it will be beneficial to you down the road, just as it is beneficial now. And then the other thing is, if you are thinking now's the time I need to make a change, and you want to make some sort of a change, we also have another guide that you can download if this fits you, about switching host agencies. And you can go to, and this doesn't matter, it doesn't have anything to do with us and switching to us, it's just in general, because a lot of times people are like, I don't know quite how that works, but just go to gtnoffer.com and you can download that. But I think the bottom line in all of this is to think, if you want to move forward with your travel business, and I hope you do, because we need great travel advisors. If you want to move forward with your travel business, now is the time to think and really think back to what was working and what wasn't working in January and February, and nail those systems down and be as organized as possible and really get ready for the future. But most importantly, you need to be positive and focused on moving forward and be ready to adapt, because the new normal is probably not going to be like the old normal. And so, though, being an entrepreneur, you've got to be flexible and you've got to be ready to make a change. And if that means more domestic travel and less international, then you got to be ready for that. Or if maybe it means that one segment of your business booms and another one's a little slower to catch up, you have to be flexible and adapting to that.
Awesome. That's cool. And I actually lied. I do have one more question for you, because this is a really good question, because it kind of goes into what you're talking about with ideal clients, but then also talking about now is the time to change if you want to pivot into anything. So Danielle asked, she said, thoughts about dipping outside our niche to adventure/outdoor, if that's what people want to book first. So kind of going where the money might lead first.
So I think you should always go where your heart leads and where your passion is. It's just like when kids go to college, you don't show them a list. Okay, here's a list of the top majors and how much they make. Now pick one based on how much money you want to make. That's not how you pick a major in college, which is why it takes them 15 times to pick a major, but we do a lousy job preparing them. But you should pick your specialty or your focus based on what you're passionate about. I mean, if you're passionate about outdoor and adventure, then absolutely that's what you should pursue. And you could do that in the United States. That doesn't have to be international travel. So it might be that if you're passionate about adventure, then you are doing domestic first and then doing international. Or it might be that international comes back right away. We don't really know yet. But don't make the decision don't ever make decisions based on fear. Like, I don't think that's going to work, and so I'm scared, so I'm going to do this other thing. Or make decisions based on what you're passionate about, and then that's how you attract the right clients to you, because you can tell when somebody's passionate about what they do, and that's how you attract people to you and attract those amazing clients who, we have lots of our advisors who are getting flowers and wine and all kinds of beautiful gifts, because they're like, I know that things are probably challenging for you right now, and I'm thinking about you, and we're going to be booking again soon, and they're getting all these beautiful gifts. And that's how you get those clients.
That's cool. I'm glad. Yeah, Danielle, thank you for asking that question because I think that's really
Mm-hmm.
great to pivot because we talk so much about what to do right now and how do we navigate it, but also there's what are you going to do next? And so yeah,
Right.
that's really great question. So I love that. That was really great stuff. And the one thing that I do want to mention too is definitely check out academy.travefy.com because you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned something earlier about like having a fee and we had a webinar on this, so you
Mm-hmm.
guys should definitely go check that out about
We did.
with with Sandy talking about why you should charge a fee. And so that's on our website. So if you ever want to go check that out, because that's one of the things that maybe you do make that change in your business. And there's one about finding your niche. So there's a lot of stuff that's very helpful right now that had about a year ago, which is crazy. And so that's awesome.
Was
And
it that
I just
long
want to
ago? Maybe
I
so.
know it might have been. I know
It
it's
might have.
flying by. Well, it's already May almost. Oh, it's crazy. So insane.
True.
Summer is like right
True.
there. It's insane. Time is flying. But I just want to thank you so much again, Sandy,
Thank
for
you.
joining us. And yeah, we really enjoy having you on. I know everyone learns a lot. And again, you will get an email after this and I'll put if you go on the web, so the email won't have the link that Sandy shared, but I'll put that link in the website that is in the email. So you just have to click through. If you have trouble finding it, just email us and we'll get that to you. But otherwise, thank you so much, everyone, and thanks again, Sandy, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks so much. And everybody, take care and get excited for what's coming. And the future is bright.
Yes, that is great words of wisdom. Thanks. See you, everyone.
Bye.